Nicole is part of the SAQA group, and they are showing starting today, December 13th, and will be going until January 14th.
Yeah.
14th. 6 weeks. So we're so excited for Holly to tell us about her production here.
So the theme of the show, the name of the show is Simple Lines, and it was to be inspired by Washington, D.C. And one of the things I think is completely unique to Washington, D.C. is Politics Central drives the city.
Absolutely.
And to me, my obsession with politics at the moment seems to be the impasse in Congress, specifically that everyone is so much more concerned about supporting their party than they are talking to each other, that all of us suffer for this as a result of not much getting through. So when I started this with paint, and I had a final time with red and blue in conflict with each other, and then I tortured myself stitching the Capitol underneath it all.
Oh my
But to me, that's really the biggest source of impasse we are dealing with.
Right, the American people and the Capitol. Well, it's very, very strong. What did you use? What is the medium?
This is MX dye. It's a fiber reactive dye, so it's really permanent. It's red and blue, it's going to be there forever. And then just a whole lot of free motion quilting.
Wow, wow. It's really, really good, Holly. So thank you.
I kind of swore I'd never do architecture again after that, but maybe, eventually, after a big vacation.
I see. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
But you want to tell us a little bit about the SAQA group?
It is a godsend for those of us who are art quilters. It has really created a whole network of people who are just a joy to be around and to share and get feedback from. And so a lot of us in the course of developing things, we'll get feedback from other members of the group, or at least kind of waltz stuff by folks to see how things are going. And it's just a fabulous outlet. I didn't start quilting until 2015. And so I feel like I've found my crowd.
I see, I see. Well, SAQA is a very large group, nationally and internationally.
With huge international connections, yes.
And they have a beautiful magazine, so that's what drew me in. Well, welcome to the McLean Textile Gallery.
Very happy to be here.
A wonderful thought that I can say all good things about my husband being here with me to let me provide a spot that's so unique in the city, you know, to have a gallery. We started with one and now we have 3. So we urge the public to come. We're open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, so drop in. We're working on a little tea too, but that's going to be a little further downstream, so stop in and have a spot of tea with us. Thank you.
Developed beautifully here, and this is such a welcoming space. We're really glad to be here.
Thank you. Good morning again. I'm happy to say hello to Andrea Finch, and she's also part of SAQA. And what do you have for us today, Andrea?
So I actually have to read my title because it's so long. Womb of the Nation, Tears in the Fabric, Tears on the Fabric, Frayed Edges, and on the Fringe. I couldn't narrow it down, so the whole thing got into the title.
I see.
Blue and red fighting each other. So there was a lot going on in my mind, and it quickly came together, though.
And so what are the colors, or what is
the
medium?
Medium is all fiber. I do a lot of layering, and I do raw edge, so nothing's fused down. I just lay the fabric down, starch it really well, So it's kind of adheres to itself so that I can sew it. I use textile fabrics and quilting fabrics, and basically anything goes.
So you seam it then?
It's all raw edge, so they're just laid on top of each other and then machine quilted.
Seam. And this represents?
Well, it's the rivers, the Anacostia and the Potomac. They flow together, and it's the center of things.
It has such movement.
Thank you.
It catches you.
And I also want to, I'm a rule breaker, so the 2 foot by 4 foot, I knew I could not fill that entire space. I could not do a square or a rectangle quilt, so I took it.
It's very unique and fun. It draws your attention, and you're another SAQA
Yes.
artisan.
So SAQA South, as I call it, is my secondary. I'm in Pennsylvania, so PA's my first focus, and then.
So you're meeting everybody in the SAQA South.
Well, luckily I did get to meet Linda and a few other people when we had a show at the Strathmore called Muse. I know Muse was in the name.
Yes, yes.
Working with the Muse.
Okay, okay, very good.
So this is my second show.
I'm delighted to have you.
Thank you.
Thank
We're
you.
delighted to be here.
Thank you. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Nancy.
I'm so glad to meet you.
Me too.
I know you've done so much work for SAQA, and you're leaving your position soon.
I am.
What was the position again?
I am one of the regional reps for this area.
Ah.
It's DC, Maryland, and West Virginia.
Wow, it's a beautiful grouping of people.
It's a great group of people.
What are your numbers?
We're about 75 that call this region their first region, and then the about equal number of people, maybe a few more, call it their second region, like Andrea did.
Andrea calls it SAQA South.
Right. This is just, it's such an interesting region, and that's part of the reason we named this challenge Simple Line.
Simple Lines.
Because it was focused on just how much more difficult it is to strip something down to its simple
Simplicity.
base, as opposed to looking at all the details and everything. And what we were trying to do was pull people away and back from the details and the minutia, because during COVID and everything, that's what we were all focused on. Everything had to be drawn in, and we were trying to say, no, let's pull back a little bit and just give another aspect and perspective to what the Washington DC area is.
Right, underneath it all.
Exactly.
You have such talent and inspiration, and it rings true.
Right. But you know, if you start talking about the details here, people just spin for days.
Oh.
And you know, our focus was to say, okay, how do you see DC in a simple form, in the natural, political, or social aspect?
Right.
And so I chose architectural.
I love it. Do you have any background in it?
I was a registered architect.
Okay.
I now do this full time.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So, thank you.
When
Well, what I did here was I took the map and I did a lot of research and found that there were 3 historic stones that were used to build the original Washington, D.C.
Wow.
The Akia stone out of Virginia is used in some of the original portions of the U.S. Capitol, but it had to be painted over because it did not stand up well.
In what natural color is it?
It is this color.
Ah, okay. And that was painted over?
It was painted over, and they said there's one room on the 2nd floor of the U.S. Capitol that is still this color, and it is just magnificent because they said has an interior finish. So it's like, it just glows.
Wonderfully.
And the Seneca stone is the stone that was used to build, let's see if I can remember now, the castle at the Smithsonian.
Oh, sure.
And it's also been used extensively for the U.S. Capitol and the White House.
Sure. And it is stronger because they painted it. Maybe that castle at the Smithsonian.
It's the original color.
The original color, yes.
And they said it's one of those colors that starts out really light, almost a pink, and as it ages, it goes to brown. So it's got a natural resistance as it weathers, and it basically creates a core or a hard surface.
I see.
So it stands up really well.
I see.
And then this is representing the Cockeysville marble, which was used to build the Washington Monument.
Oh my goodness. Where does that come from?
Outside of Baltimore.
Does it? Right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's really
Impressed.
cool, and that's why I wanted to use these to represent.
Absolutely.
You know, this came from Virginia, this came from Maryland, and this came
perfect.
from
Perfect.
up a little bit, but built.
Uh-huh.
And this is basically the outline of the Washington Monument.
Sure.
So it made perfect sense to let it be that.
Very clever,
Thank
very original.
Thank you. And then I painted all these fabrics to make them look like this.
Uh-huh.
And so, like Andrea, I was thinking that, you know, it's like you get the river, which gives everything a base for its location.
It truly
here.
does.
And I was thinking of foundations
Uh-huh.
and strength and everything. And I found a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that was based, I can't remember, but the final line is, "Out of the mountain of despair, a stone of hope."
Oh, gives me goosebumps.
I know, which is why I had to put this up here, because this is the Freedom Plaza, which was named and dedicated to him, Martin Luther King Jr., in the late 80s. And so it has his quote.
Yes.
But I figure that gave such a good base to this whole thing, because this is the foundation upon which the rest of the country's built.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's a beautiful, beautiful story.
Thank you.
Let alone the beautiful tapestry. Well, thank you very, very much, Linda.
It's been a delight talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy.